Good afternoon, all of you. And sorry for the late. There are some technical issues, so we got late today. Today onwards, I'll be again taking your classes. So in my first 5 classes, I had covered the publication ethics, and these are the various points we had discussed during that time. And also we have discussed about various research ethics, in which I had given various examples, and we have seen that how ethical misconduct happened during various types of research, and we should avoid those type of misconduct definitely during any type of research. And there are many stages are there during a particular research program, and ethical standards to be maintained in all stages of research. So in this part, actually, I'll also have to cover some how to present oral presentation. I have to give an oral presentation, as well as how to write a scientific report or thesis or paper. So for today, I'll start that portion, and after finishing that, I'll again come back to various patent and all discussion. So first, today I'll discuss about oral report or oral presentation. So whenever we are carrying out some research work, and it is our duty to tell to the community that this type of work we have done, and this is the outcome of our end, because we are working in a scientific field on particular motivation and particular gap areas, and then when we work, we get some outputs, and that outputs will be beneficial for other people who are working in the same community. So it's our responsibility to present our work to the community. So we can present our work in the form of either a oral presentation, otherwise a report or a manuscript for in publications, or a thesis writing. So first I'll start with the oral presentation. Before starting the preparation of an oral report, an outline can be drawn based on time duration of the report and the quality of the audience. So whenever we are going for an oral presentation or a talk, then we have to see that we are telling to which audience. That is very much important. If it is a highly hardcore subject material, then we can directly tell about the subject. But if it is a mixed type of audience, then we can give a little brief introduction, and that will be relate to other people, so from their area of expertise or research to our particular area of research. So audience we have to see, and how much time we have to present. That is also very much required. For departmental seminars and all, normally we get 45 minutes or to 1 hour presentation. In other meetings, the time duration is fixed by the organizer based on the number of days of the meeting, number of speakers, and the status of a speaker. So normally nowadays for the plenary talk and all, we are giving 45 minutes to 1 hour, but for oral presentation by the students or the researchers, the research scholars, we are giving hardly 8 to 10 minutes. So depending upon the time given, we have to schedule our presentation in that manner. So if we are getting 8 minutes presentation, we cannot prepare our slides, number of slides as 50. So 50 slides we cannot cover in 8 minutes. So if I am trying to cover 50 slides in 8 minutes, we will be hurrying through the slides. So it will not give justice to the presentation. So time of our presentation is very much important. So first we'll see that if we are getting a long duration of presentation, like annual presentation of our work and all, we get normally 45 to 60 minutes. And whenever we are getting some time, then we have to also see that whether that time is including the discussion or it is excluding the discussion. Because if I'm getting a 60 minutes presentation slot, so it may be having, we have to ask the organizer or whoever is giving our opportunity that how much time we should give emphasis in the presentation part and how much time we should devote to the question answer. Because normally we have the question answer session at the end of the presentation. And also we have to keep in mind that during presentation, there will be a lot of discussion and there will be a lot of interaction also may be possible. So we have to prepare our presentation in such a manner that we can finish the whatever we wanted to tell in that particular time allotted. We should not exceed the whatever time, because if I am having a time slot of 15 minutes and I am presenting for 1.5 hours, it will not be justice to that particular system of presentation, because other persons will not be able to present their work. So whatever time is allotted to us, we should strictly follow the time schedule, and also we prepare in such a manner that it will be easy for the other audience to relate to our presentation. So if I'm getting a longer time, like 45 to 60 minutes presentation, so we have quite enough time to include how to introduce the topic and discuss the definition of the problem, because every research work is having a definition. So what is the problem we are attacking during our work, that we can discuss. And then we can discuss about the various methodologies or techniques employed during our work. And then we can give the technical details of the whatever work we have carried out. And also we can give the present result. We can present the result and what are the conclusions obtained from that. And number of slides we have to prepare accordingly, and so that we'll not hurry through the presentation. And also we should not, if we are getting a 60 minutes presentation, I should not complete it in 15 minutes. That type of things we have to keep it in mind. Consequently, these aspects can be prepared in detail. So if I am getting that 50 to 60 minutes of presentation, so I can think that how much time I should give to the introduction part, and more emphasis we have to give our results and discussion and whatever techniques we have employed and what is the conclusion. So more when we are giving the more time to that part, but emphasis also should be given to the introduction to, if it is a large type of audience which may have different type of persons. So we should skillfully introduce the topic so that it will be interesting to the audience. So in this manner, we can prepare our presentation. So next is, if I am getting a time slot of 15 to 30 minutes oral presentation, one cannot find enough time to discuss complete details of the work, because if I'm getting 1 hour presentation, I can present nicely all the aspects of that particular work. But if I'm getting a 15 to 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, so we cannot discuss everything in that particular time. So in that case, the less informative materials must be dropped, like giving a lot of background to the work, to tell in the beginning that what are the things has been already done and what we are planning to do. Everything we cannot do in 30 minutes. So 15 to 30 minutes. So we have to drop whatever is not very much essential for the presentation. And the methods and techniques used can be presented very briefly. So what are the things we have done and techniques whatever been adopted, we have to include, but very briefly, without going to the technical details. And much time should be reserved for the results and conclusions and further directions. So in that manner, we have to partition our presentation into various parts, and so that more emphasis, or maybe if it is a 30 minutes presentation, I think more than 15 minutes we should give our results and conclusions and future direction. And at the beginning, we have to cover all the introduction and the methodology in 5 to 7 minutes, so that 5 to 7 minutes discussion time we can give for the audience to ask questions, and we have to discuss the various findings. So similarly, if I'm getting a time slot of 8 to 10 minutes, that is the normal oral presentation nowadays we are getting in various symposium and seminars. So there is no time to discuss the complete details of the work, giving detailed introduction. But if we are not giving any introduction, that will be suddenly will come to the things, and people may not relate what is going on. So we have to include the aim of the work and methods and techniques very briefly in the introduction part, and that time should be reserved mostly for the results and observation and conclusions. So if I'm getting a 8 minutes time slot, so if 1 minute question is question answer time will be given, then 7 minutes will be our time. So in 7 minutes, 4 minutes we can devote for our results discussion and conclusions. And first 3 minutes, 1 minute may be included for the introduction to the topic, and maybe 1 to 2 minutes about the whatever we have carried out during the particular experiment or research work that we can include. In that manner, depending upon the time, we can schedule our presentation, and these things we should have a map in the beginning. Before the presentation, we should very clearly prepare the what are the things to be present and how to make the presentation more interesting. So I'll discuss a little more on this. Prepare a write-up of the oral presentation. Sometimes we just see and do, but if I am preparing a write-up of the oral presentation, that will be also beneficial. It is a good and very helpful practice to write the talk before present it orally. So I can plan the things if I am writing down that, because nowadays most of the people, we don't write many things, but it's a good practice actually to write out the prepare in that manner that these are the things I am going to present during, and this will be a slide. And here we should ask that why should the audience listen to our presentation? So here also I am presenting something, but it is for a class, and students have to listen it because they have to appear for an examination. But in the research presentation, normally the audience may not be interested. So we have to make the audience listen to our work. So we have to make it more interesting. Is the presentation match with the standard of the audience? So in the beginning, I've told that if the audience is varieties, means wide varieties, then we can give a little general things. Otherwise, they will not relate. If the audience is very specialized, and if we are telling the very general things in the beginning, that the audience may not appreciate why we are giving so much of general things. So depending upon the audience, we have to formulate our presentation in such a manner that it will be interesting for the audience to listen. Revise the presentation until you get convincing answer to the above two questions. Make sure that your objective would convince the audience that you have done your job well, your methodology is sound, and the findings are useful. So we have to, because when we have worked on a particular research work, we have to convince the audience that yes, this is the manner why we have what we have done and why we have done that. That should be clearly conveyed to the audience. The success of a presentation lies in making it long enough to cover the topic and short enough to arouse the curiosity. If we are presenting a thing of very elaborately, the front person may get bored during the work, during the presentation. So we have to make it interesting, and we have to make a time such that it will not be too lengthy or it will not be very short, so that there will be that arouse the curiosity will not be there. So oral presentation can be made effective and attractive by using modern visual devices for PowerPoint, slides, transparency sheets, etc. But the title of the report, author's name, plan of the presentation, very important content of it and conclusions can be printed on the slides or sheets, possibly point by point with bold and sufficiently large size of letters, because sometimes we write our things in a very small font, it will not be visible to the whole audience sitting in the room. So we should use a proper font and proper color of the slides, and visually it should be appealing. So because we have to catch hold of the audience during our presentation. So we have to use some tools, PowerPoint tools, so that it will look interesting. But we should not overemphasize on putting this type of things. That like sometimes people use lot of animation during the presentation. So sometimes these animations become so annoying that people get annoyed and they don't see the slides, because from this side something is coming, from that side something is coming, something is popping out. That is okay for certain levels. It may be okay, but for some very good scientific presentation, this may not be required. But it should be clear. There should be clarity. That should be easily visible to the audience, and it should be interesting. It should not look like because if I am putting all the materials point line by line, a lot of lines will be there in the slide, and all the things are in one color, one font. So people may get to search actually what to see from that particular slide. So you have to use proper color, proper adjustment of the materials so that it will be appealing to the audience. Rather than चल रहा है ठीक से? Okay. Rather than merely reading out, they may be displayed in the form of histograms, because whenever we are presenting some data and if we are writing the things, findings and just reading out, so the audience may not relate the things. But if you are putting a figure and like a histogram or for the different fraction of particular system, then it will be visually interesting. Slides and transparency should not contain running matters. Like here, I have written a lot of running matters. We should avoid this type of slide in presentation, especially our scientific presentation. This is a classroom things, and you are going to get the things. So I have prepared like this, but this is not the right interesting way to present the things. It should be a bulleted things, or sometimes it may be a part-wise, some whatever. Some figures may be included, and that type of thing will look nice for a that will be easy for a normal audience. Researchers should not simply read that content also, because I'm also reading here, but it's not a good practice whenever we are going for a research presentation. An abstract and or a short write-up of the presentation may be circulated to the participants of the meeting. That if we are like, that's why we published our symposium. First, we send our abstract, and it forms we circulate the bulletin of that particular conference or something like that, so that the audience will get the printing material, and they can go through the thing, and while presentation they can relate the things. Sophisticated softwares developed for preparing text or on transparency sheet slides are available in internet and can be freely downloaded. So softwares we can use for that in order to make the presentation more lively. A researcher could use multimedia. So some multimedia presentation, if you are including like some reaction is going on, if you can show user a multimedia, then it will be a little interesting. Like a reactor operation we are showing, and how the coolant water is circulating. If we can give a multimedia type of thing, it will be easily means the audience will easily relate that okay, this type of things are going on, and from there we are taking something and for our research work. So nowadays, use of PowerPoint Microsoft Windows is very common. It is an easy and compact utility software, especially for preparing classroom presentations. One could use audio aspects also to facilitate presentation in a better way. While presenting the topic, the researchers should strictly follow the classroom teaching methodology. So how do we do the classroom teaching? That we can include in our presentation mode. And also one should allow interaction. So whenever we are doing a research presentation, we should interact with the students or interact with the audience. Like in the beginning, I told that I do not like this type of online teaching much, because I cannot see any of my students in the class. I like always the offline type of teaching in the class, so that I can see whether the student is listening or not, or whether if they are getting bored, I can from the face we can find out, yes, I am going a little wrong, so I can make it more interesting. So this is an online course, that is fine. But if you are going for a presentation in a normal mode, offline mode, so interaction is very much essential. And don't forget to modulate the voice as and when required, and don't violate time frame. So, but whenever we have to give emphasis of certain things, we have to modulate our voice in such a manner that it will be easily, it will be interesting for the audience. Because if they are interested, they can listen our thing, and we can convey our things nicely. Logically, continuity is another key aspect. Move from the simple to the complex, from the known to the unknown. Because in the beginning, that's why we are giving a slight introduction to our topic, so that simple things we can tell in the beginning, and then we can go for the exact complex things, whatever in the research we have carried out. Your statement should sound sensible and reasonable, because audience should feel that yes, whatever I am telling, I'm not telling something abstract type of thing. Because in science, we should it should be more sensible, and that will be a reasonable thing we should tell. Do not speak too fast and compromise on clarity, or speak too slowly or bore the audience. Because I'm going very fast. Like if I'm preparing 50 slides for a 8 minutes talk, I have to go very fast. Some people talk really fast, and Sometimes it is clarity, there will be clarity, but if I'm going very fast, it will be difficult for the audience to relate to the what is the person is telling. And similarly, also, if I'm going very slow and I'm spending 3 minutes in one slide, so that also may be not too much interesting, and the audience may get bored during that period. So we have to optimize that what way we have to present the things, and how many slides we have to use, and how what is the pace of our presentation, and also what is the modulation of our voice. Make the session, do not speak too fast, under that I have told. Make the session interactive by posing questions. So whenever, that's why in my normal classrooms, I used to ask a lot of questions. Okay, I have told this, so what is your opinion? So in that way, somebody may tell that, okay, I'm feeling like that. So I'll get some input. So then I'll again formulate in the question in a something different manner. So that will be conversation. Whenever I'm doing a conversation, the audience will get attached to our things. And in that way, we will be easily convey our things. So we have to do that in our presentation also. And the most crucial part is the actual presentation in front of listeners. Stage fright is the bane of most of our presentation, because we all, at least I get stage fright very much. There is no shortcut to overcome this fear. One has to practice, practice, and practice. One can improve your presentation skill by getting the feedback after you have spoken. Like in the beginning, I used to get frightened to stand up in a big stage and telling to the audience. But we have to present our work, so that is a part of our thing. Then we have to go on practicing. So but I used to do that. I used to go to the stage before the audience used to come, and stand in the stage and see that, okay, I have to present this type of room, and this room will be completely filled. Okay, then I get little comfortable there. So, and also avoid repeated use of words or phrases such as, well, you see, I mean, I think, basically, that is, so these type of words, once in a while it's fine. But I have a student, she used to use this basically word, I think, 4 to 5 times in a single sentence. So once I told that you're using this basically very frequently, and it's getting a little annoyed. But she's a very good speaker. But she has corrected, I think, nowadays she's not using that much basically. So this type of common words, so we can use whenever it is required, but not that frequently. Otherwise, the front person may get bored during the presentation. You should also concentrate on your body language. When you're standing in front of an audience, your body language also has to be very important. Smooth movements of limbs and occasional spine and pleasing manners would endure us to the listeners. Looked relaxed and comfortable. Eye contact should be maintained. That's why I always like this offline classes, because I always prefer the eye contact with the students or the audience. Because here I am not able to see that how you are taking my things properly or not, I could not understand. So eye contact is very much essential during any type of presentation with the audience. Let your eyes move uniformly around the entire audience. Sometimes in the beginning of my career, I used to see the 1 to 2 persons, and then I used to present. But that is not a good practice. You should move your eyes to the entire audience and not focus on a particular person or particular part of the audience. Because sometimes we feel that I am comfortable with this person, so I can see to that person, and if I'm afraid of some seniors, we should not see to that particular. But with time, I think we can all overcome that type of thing. So 1 or 2 rehearsals of the report, the presentations in presence of colleagues, supervisors, collaborators can be exercised in order to complete the presentation with the allotted time, improve the quality of the presentation, and maintain the fluency of the presentation. So little practice, sometimes it is better, but there are some persons who do not like rehearsals, because they feel that if they are rehearsal, it will be a modulated type of thing, that easy flow may not come on that. So they directly go for the presentation and they really speak nicely. But for normal presenter, it is better to rehearse so that we can see that whether really we are finishing within proper time or not, and what are the things where we should speak, and our colleagues also can give their input that we can avoid this part and we can emphasize on that part. And also fluency of the presentation can be improved by a rehearsal for most of the speakers. During a long presentation, the speaker can stop the presentation at various stages, seek comments and questions from the audience, and then proceed. This will make the presentation attractive, interesting, and also allow the audience to clarify their doubts so that they can follow the work. Sometimes we take the questions at the end of the things, and sometimes we interact in between also. So that depends upon how it can go. And your clarifications should be clear and convincing. Never go to the arguments, because sometimes during the presentation, if somebody is telling that no, this is, I feel this is not correct, you should not take it personally, because it's a scientific forum and we have to discuss. The person has to tell in that they feel like that, and we have done with certain aim or certain methodology we are following. So we can have our discussion, but we should not argue during the presentation. Your confidence gets boosted if you approach the situation in a feeling that the expert panel is there to help you. Because sometimes we are afraid of the expert panels, but we should not find that they are always there to facilitate us. An important point is to consider the tone to adapt so that you sound genuine during the presentation of our reward. So these are the various things we should take care during the presentation. Next part is the art of writing a research paper or thesis. So I have covered the oral presentation part. So now we will discuss about the writing part, because whenever we are doing a presentation, we are doing a research work, we have to publish, we have to tell this to the world. So first is, what is the research, what is in this thing, we'll first see that what is a research report. Research reporting in oral or a written presentation is important, useful aspect of the research work done. Scientific writing, a thesis or a paper, is intended to present clearly the purpose and the outcomes of a specific research investigation. It is the last but the major part of the research study, because when I discussed the various steps included in a particular research work, the last step was writing of the report. But this is the very important part of the report, because every part is definitely important, but this is the one of the most important part, because here we are telling our work in a concise manner to the world who are going to utilize this particular for further things. A report helps the researcher to get feedback from other researchers and experts working in the same field. It also evaluates the success and originality of our research work. If there is an originality, it can be easily accepted in various international journals. And your thesis also, if it is an original work, or if there is an originality, it will be easily accepted by the evaluators. Without a report, a research study is incomplete and of no use. So if you are doing a research and not publishing the work, definitely it is an incomplete work, because you are keeping the things with you. But because whenever we are working on a particular research program, we are working in some gap areas. And if we are getting the results, we have to tell that these gap areas were there in that particular work, and these gap areas can be minimized or eliminated using this type of work, so that others people should not repeat their time and money on that type of work. So we have to publish whatever, we have to write the report. A report essentially conveys the outcome of a research work to interested persons. Brilliant work and most striking findings are of little value if they are not effectively communicated to the scientific world. So you have to effectively communicate to the scientific world. So what are research paper or article or PhD thesis or a dissertation? A research paper is a report published in a journal or magazine or conference proceedings, etc. Whereas a PhD dissertation is a report of the entire work carried out by a researcher to a university or an institution for award of the degree of either master's or a degree of philosophy, PhD type of thing. A central element of a PhD education is a doctoral thesis. So whenever we are doing a PhD work, finally we have to produce the doctoral thesis. Thesis writing, that's why it's important. That is the PhD thesis or PhD dissertation. It is an apprenticeship is in how to do the research and forms the unique part of the PhD degree course. A PhD dissertation is a lengthy, original and unsubstantial document. Should contain original contributions. Essentially, the role of the PhD dissertation is to demonstrate the research person's original thinking and contribution to the topic of research. Like that dissertation, because whenever we are doing a PhD thesis, it should be originally, it should reflect the originality of that particular PhD student. It should also clearly point out the research competence of the researcher in that particular field of research. MPhil dissertation is designed as a practice for PhD thesis because normally we do the MPhil before the PhD thesis. So MPhil dissertation becomes, or even the MSc dissertation and MSc report is a previous step to the PhD thesis. It will help the researchers to learn and understand the present status of the topic and make him capable of writing the PhD at the PhD level. So MSc or PhD dissertations are the steps for going for the PhD thesis. So why should a researcher report his findings? Like I have already told this thing that every research investigation is carried out with certain objectives. In the beginning of the any research program, we first formulate that this is our research problem and this is our research objective. And why we are going for this type of research. That is, we have in the beginning, we have decided the outcome of a research work may add new information to the theory or may have technological applications. That's why whenever we have solved something, then we have to tell that, yes, this way we can solve the things. And this is that's the way, that is the importance of research methodology. Research methodology means the simplest or the quickest way by which we can find out the result. So research findings we have to prepare so that we can tell our outcome. It may be a positive outcome and it may be a negative outcome also. But if the objectives are clear, then we can tell that, okay, this way, if we are following, we'll get the positive outcome. And if you are not getting the positive outcome, that also can be a PhD thesis. And we can in the end tell that these are the steps when we apply for that particular work, we'll not get the proper result. So sometimes the researcher may not be aware of the theoretical development on practical applications. His research results may be useful to another research problem because from one research gap, that we may get that by adopting this particular way, we will not able to solve. So if we are not able to solve, that becomes a new research problem or new gap areas. So on which other people can work. So when we are telling to the audience, then they can easily find out the gap areas. Some other researchers may be working or planning to work on the same or similar type of research work. Several researchers doing the same research work is a waste of time unless the solution of the problem is needed very urgently and is of great use. Like a vaccine for a particular like COVID pandemic, many research groups were working on that because it was very much essential that was the need of the time. But otherwise, if it is a simpler type of problem, many students should not work on the same problem. So we can give, because there are many, n number of problems available. So we can work on different problems. And if the work is really essential or very important, then we can give several researchers to work on the same project also. The repetition of work should be avoided by research community as much as possible. Because if I am doing on a particular research work, and other people are also doing on the exactly same things, there will be repetition and our research output will not be published, because if whoever is publishing first, that will be published, and other people's work will not be easily published because the journal publications agencies will tell that these are already been published. So repetition of work has to be avoided unless a researcher report his work to the world, the correctness, validity, originality of the work is under question mark. Because if I'm doing and I'm feeling that yes, I've done my work and I've got this result, but this will not be concluding things. because the research, whatever we are doing, this should be validated by all the audience in the, who are experts in that field or who are. So that's why if you are publishing in a journal, so if somebody has some doubts, they can raise the questions also, because in the previous part also I have told that there is a possibility that you can question some of the research work also, because after many maybe 6 months or 1 year also, sometimes people question the research output. So that's why ethical standards has to be maintained, that I have told in the beginning. So we have to tell to the our audience the outcome of the research work will be become known to the scientific community only through publications. A piece of research not published is as good as not carried out. So if I have not published a work, so it is as similar to the I have not done the particular research work. So in view of the above, it is important to report our work in an appropriate journal or magazine or in a scientific meetings like conferences, seminars, symposia. Identify possible publications of your research findings after making a considerable progress on a research problem. Don't be confined with a mere PhD degree. If you are working for a PhD degree, in between you can publish your work stepwise, so that all the things you need not just only publish in your PhD work. In between, you can go to the various symposia, seminars, also present the work, so that you will get some positive inputs also, and you'll tell the audience that okay, we are working in this field, and if there is some collaboration, possible collaboration, we can have that type of collaboration. And if we are putting in our journals, it will be also helpful for our PhD degree. Like in our HBNI PhD degree, for chemistry students, there is a rule that we have to publish three work in international journals. So we should not wait for the PhD degree. We should publish our work also in various journals as well as symposia. So characteristic of a good report, I'll just mention. A good report results from slow, painstaking, and accurate inductive work. To attract a reader, the reading matter of a report should be clear and interesting, because whenever we are presenting our oral presentation, we have to make it more interesting. Our report about the publication also should be interesting. It should not be obscure or dull. The write-up should be logical, clear, and concise. We should not elaborate too much that it will not be boring for the audience. That's why many journal papers nowadays telling to shorten the size of the paper. Some journals are telling that they can publish only 8 pages of publications, because if I am putting a 25 pages of journal paper, so the audience may not be interested in reading 25 pages, but 8 pages is genuine to give the maximum work output in that particular manner. We can give our other things in a supplementary version of that particular paper. The paper that is difficult to understand is not presented in a logical way. Relying heavily on the results in other papers is like a dry biscuit with little sustaining value and even less taste. Like dry biscuits, we may not like it. So similarly, if the research paper is not very clear, logical way will not be there, so it will be not interesting for the reader to go through the books. Will not be digested and will be left unread and abandoned, because whenever we are publishing, we wish that our report will reach to the maximum type of audience, and many people will do, and their comments also will be welcome. So, but if it is not, people are not reading, then it will be abandoned type of thing. So we have to make it more interesting. The basic quality of or characteristic of a good scientific report or paper and thesis are the following. There should be good presentation, good organization of various chapters or sections, because how we are organizing our this the particular research output is also very much important, and also accuracy of our result is very much important, because that will be utilized by other persons also, other researchers. And also there should be clarity in the presentation of the data or whatever we are writing, and it should be also free from contradiction and confusion. Because in the beginning, if you are writing that this particular work is suitable for that time, and in the next at the end of the paper, we are telling that this type will not be suitable for this particular work, this particular type of research, then there will be ambiguity in the particular source, which should be clarity should be there, and it should not have any contradiction or confusion. further a PhD dissertation should be formal and should be have high level of scholarship. So it should be formal way of a presentation. We should not be very casual while writing the things. So just few minutes more I'll take today. This is the last slide. Outline of a report, that what are the considerations to kept in mind while preparing a report. First, an outline of the report has to be prepared. A sketch of what information to be conveyed must be made. Then one can write down various topics, subtopics to be considered, and what material to be presented in that. The sentence which are to be expanded, reworded, and verified for its validity can be marked. So in that manner, we can prepare the outline of the report. The outline of the report helps us to concentrate on what is to be presented. Means हमको क्या लिखना है वो report में, वो हम लोगों को उसमें मिल जाएगा. Logical relationship between various parts of the report that we can include. Smooth flow of the content, because whenever we are writing, if we are writing and there is no proper flow, the audience may get bored. So there should be proper flow from the first line to the last line. So if there is a proper flow, it will be really interesting for the readers. There should be continuity in the presentation. So if there is no continuity, the audience may not relate the particular output. So the output can be discussed by the guide, collaborators, colleagues, and experts in that local area. Based on their comments, the structure of the report can be modified. So whenever we are presenting or writing a particular manuscript or thesis, we have to go on explaining, first giving some various drafts. 3-stage preparation of a report is generally done by researchers. They are normally first draft, which is a rough draft. Next is the second draft, that is rewriting and polishing of the rough draft. Third draft is the writing the final draft. So if we are following these 3 stages of preparation of a particular research output in a report, so I think we can do a justice to the particular research work. So we'll discuss about this various preparation of drafts in the next class. Thank you.